G'day everyone, welcome back to Bulwarks and Bulldust. Without sounding like my good mate John Curnow, I've literally just run into Spike Abram from Rapide Yacht Group on the dock. So we're going to take the opportunity to put him in the captain's chair from Melfi Designs and have a chat. Hi everyone, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Bulwarks and Bulldust. We've been a bit opportunistic, as I alluded to in the introduction. We've actually got Spike Abram from Rapide Yacht Group here today. Hey Spike.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
No, look, and thanks for coming on short notice. We really appreciate it. Off the back of a pretty successful Hamilton Island campaign on the Gunboat 48 Malalo. Give us a bit of background on the boat.
Yeah, so it's the original Gunboat 48. And it was built in South Africa. It was left in Antigua in a pretty average condition. I sold it to a young novice sailor, effectively, and she put the boat into a big refit and ended up selling it in Tahiti. New buyer came along, and the boat ended up getting shipped to Oz and ended up at Hamilton Island, where we won our division.
Yeah, fantastic. It was pretty cool watching you guys sail around. So you've obviously had a long-standing affiliation with the gunboat brand. What was it like seeing two gunboats cruise around Hamilton Island after such a long period of time where we didn't really see any of those sorts of boats in Australia?
Best thing ever. I mean, I've always wanted gunboats to be in Australia because I think they're the perfect boats for this whole coastline environment. And yeah, it's just magical to see the boats finally here and squaring off.
Yeah, excellent. And any plans for that? Well, I don't know what the plans for the Gunboat 62 are, but for the 68, sorry, but the Gunboat 48, what's next?
I think the boat's going to come here to the boatworks and have a little bit of a tickle, have some a little bit of investment, and then probably Sydney, some cruising, and who knows what else. Maybe Asia, maybe some more racing. We're just unsure at this stage.
Yeah, cool. All right. And obviously Rapide Yacht Group's a fairly new venture. It's been, 18 months, 2 years now?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And hopefully you and I will get to do some work together in Australia pretty shortly. But it's not your first time in Australia. Obviously you're based in the States now, but it's not your first time in Australia.
Nope.
Yeah. I guess the aspect that really I find kind of interesting is, you know, you're an Englishman now currently living in the US, but you do have an affiliation with Australia by virtue of the fact that you used to work up at Airlie on the backpacker boats, as they're lovingly known. In fact, one of the most famous from back in the Whitbread days, the Maxi Ketch, the card.
Yep.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, came over here as a backpacker and just decided that I wanted to start sailing. Ended up walking the docks and got a job, and I mean, what's better than cruising the Whitsundays on a maxi ketch with, you know, 20 Swedish backpackers and you know, some of the best cruising grounds in the world on an ex-racing yacht. Yeah, so it was an incredible introduction to sailing in Australia.
And as if that wasn't enough, then you went down to Sydney and had a chat with one Lachlan Murdoch and ended up on the Swan 82.
Yeah, well, not directly with Lachlan on the old interview, but I went down to the CYC in a pair of flip-flops, saw the job post on the dock office, and quickly ran into the chandlery, bought a pair of shoes, a pair of shorts, and a polo shirt, typed out a CV, went down to the boat, basically faked it until I made it, and got offered the job and ended up on that boat for a year and a half. In the Pacific. Yeah, so it's incredible.
And whilst in Sydney, albeit obviously at a different time, the late Andrew Short, you sailed with him, and obviously he gave you a bit of a leg up in terms of your career as well.
Yeah, I owe Andrew a lot because I had finished with Lachlan. I came back to the CYC and I was at the urinal as you do, and this guy turned around and he was like, "What's your story, bloke?" And I was like, you know, startled English Pom, just said, I've just come off this boat in the Pacific working for this guy. And before I knew it, he offered me a job, and he gave me an opportunity that probably most people wouldn't have got with my background and experience. I also think I was probably quite cheap as well, in terms of he didn't have to pay me a lot, and I was really lucky.
I'm glad you put some context around that.
And I was struggling too. I was smiling and nodding, but going, where does one go with that? But anyway.
And ended up running Brindabella. We ended up buying Shockwave, the old Maxi, did the Newport Bermuda, raced in Thailand, did the Hobart a couple of times, and he was. I feel very, very lucky to have him to give me the opportunity, because I don't think I'd be here today.
Wonderful. Well, something to be said for for being cheap and hanging around toilets. But anyway, we won't go any further with that. Now, Rapide.
Does that make him a British musician? Anybody?
No comment.
And living in the States. Been in LA recently?
No comment. No comment.
This is a quick ad break. And we're back.
Rapide Yacht Sales looks like a fantastic venture. You don't strike me as a person that lets an opportunity go by. I think you're pretty sharp and you know what you're after, and it might all seem coincidental and accidental, but I don't think so. I think the universe is probably taking you down a pathway and you know exactly where you're heading. Tell us about this venture. Tell us what's interesting about that, what you've set up, what's its point of difference. Probably is the first part to the question, and the second part maybe if you could touch on the customers in the US and maybe just some nuances between the US and perhaps local here in Australia.
Well, I think I'll take a step back from there and just quickly explain my background from being in Australia. I ended up on the TP52 circuit as shore crew, and that was really the period where working around the best in the world, obviously your learning just goes up through the roof. And from there I ended up on super yachts, but then I got an opportunity to run a gunboat 62, and so I worked for that family out of the US, just outside of New York, for nearly 8 years. And that then led to the opportunity to build, as independent owners rep, the first 2 gunboat 68s. So I was involved in that project early on, and then that then led to me setting up the US for gunboat and doing all of their sales and brokerage globally, which sort of brings me up until Rapide. And Rapide was really, I saw an opening in the market where there's 2 types of yacht brokerage specifically for performance yachts and really the performance multi-hull side. And first of all, I don't really see anyone in the performance multi-hull side that is firstly independent, and secondly has the background and the knowledge that I've been lucky enough to accumulate over the years. And so I felt that Rapide, there was an opportunity in the marketplace to bring in a brokerage that was client-centric and very different than the other two brokerage models that are out there in the US. And that's the high volume, sell at any cost, no real technical background, but just transactional type of brokerage. And then the super yacht brokerages, which are quite client-centric, but again, they don't have the background in the performance multi-hull side. And so Rapide kind of blends those two sides.
Because it's very specific knowledge base, right, for these performance multi-hulls.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think there's a lot of brokerages out there that are providing information, but they're not necessarily independent. And I think that's really critical in the marketplace because it's very technical and there's so many different options that are out there. Not one size fits all, and understanding all of those different options is critical to the success of the program effectively.
So you have to understand the owner, obviously, and what they're trying to achieve, and understand the range of products, but also have technical understanding of all the different components within that yacht as well. It'd be incredibly complex, I would have thought.
Yeah, and I think it all starts with the client and understanding the client's needs. And if you're driven by the need to sell one brand over another, then you're going to push that client into a certain direction. And I feel that should be a broader topic. And so it's all about understanding what the client needs and then working out what those options are. So very client-centric and very sort of technical in the approach effectively.
Because all of the value propositions or current brands in the market are slightly different, right?
Yes.
No, there's not really one brand that's doing the same job as the next brand. So we need to understand what the clients are doing.
Yeah, and it comes down to not only is it about the boat and where they want to cruise, but it's also about the brand and the brand's credibility and some of the pluses and minuses about that brand that the clients might not actually get to see the real picture behind the scenes. And that's not to say that one brand is necessarily better than the other, but again, being independent and being able to say things as they are is quite powerful, I think, in this marketplace.
How do you get that intel? How do you get that knowledge base? Just from living it yourself, or that's a lot of knowledge to carry around in the old brain matter.
I think it's like anything; it's living and breathing it. Number one, and so many years in the industry, you have so many different networks, and you hear scuttlebutt all the time, whether it's friends still working within a certain brand or working on a particular type of boat, and you just pick up different things, and it's just from years of sort of living and breathing it effectively.
Okay, and obviously a lot of owner operators here in Australia, but the US slightly different. So tell us about some of the customers over there that you're dealing with. Yeah,
I think the US is fascinating as a place, and I've come to love it. Despite what you might hear in the press, I think it's a wonderful place to live. And I think interestingly, when you look at the US client, they're very service based, and they want a product that sometimes can carry that level of service. There's such a high net worth over there, and quite a broad net worth. It's not just isolated. Throughout the whole country, there's a lot of money and a lot of people wanting to have fun with their money, but they also don't want to deal with the boat on the day-to-day. And so quite often, a lot of these, even with these smaller boats, they will have a full-time captain or even a captain that will jump on and off the boat. And so a lot of the boats will have a captain's cabin, or it will be more designed along that type of sort of program. And that's not because they don't have the capabilities to do it. It's just that they don't have the time. And when I worked on Tribe, which was the Gunboat 62, it was really interesting to me to understand that the family that I worked for could have anything in the world, but the one thing that they can't have or he can't buy is time. And so I felt that my job was to give the client time, and I think that resonates through a lot of the US market where they're willing to pay for it.
Right. And you're based?
I'm based in Newport, Rhode Island.
Newport,
yeah, which is obviously pretty famous for the Australian.
For a little win 42 years ago.
Yep.
And this month.
A lot of these boats, are they inland waterways as well as ocean, or it's got incredibly large inland water systems in the US. Are they suitable for those sorts of conditions as well?
No, because the bridges are quite low.
Okay. The old bridges.
Yeah, and so I do get a lot of phone calls with people wanting a performance multi-hull with a short mast, but
counterintuitive.
It doesn't quite work.
Invented yet.
It's called a power cat.
Yeah, it is. But most of the boats are, obviously you have the hurricane season there, so it's sort of a dual, I would say, program where you have the New England summers, and that's New England, Charleston all the way up through, Charleston's a little south, but obviously all the way up through New England, Newport, up to Maine, Halifax, Nova Scotia. We've had some boats cruising up in Greenland. The cruising is just incredible. And then when it's cold, and it gets miserably cold, it's horrific. The boats, when the hurricane season is over, because of insurance, which is a whole other topic you guys have probably talked about previously, or if not, you should. The boats head south and either goes to the Bahamas, which is one of the most incredible cruising grounds in the world, and also the Caribbean as well.
This is a quick ad break. And we're back.
Chesapeake Bay is a very big bit of water up there, so I have spent a bit of time along there, and I do know what you're talking about. It's quite lovely. Insurance, shout out to Pantanius as well. There's a segue.
Of course.
Pantanius is the insurer here, which you're familiar with, and they've been supporting our show, which is wonderful. But just touching on insurance, have you got a few stories to tell?
No.
No, negative.
No, that subject has been closed.
Okay. We'll leave that alone.
I'm happy to say I think it's quite different in the US. There's actually right now, because of the litigation side in the US, for a US flag, premiums are incredibly high, and it's quite difficult to get insurance just because of that factor alone. And so a lot of US boats are now actually flagging offshore. So they're going, Marshall Islands is probably the most popular. And I would say 5 years ago, that was very different. If you went to an American and said, you should have a Marshall Islands flag versus a US flag, they would have told you where to go because they're very patriotic. But now with the insurance side, there is a bit of a change with flag and tariffs and all of those other things that are coming into play. So it's changing.
So there's not too many guys around that have got as much experience across a wide range of brands. Favourite boat? Favourite multi-hull?
I'm completely biased, but there's definitely two. And actually seeing Slingshot, the boat that I built and raced in New York, but having the opportunity to go on and sail that for a day of training at Hamilton Island was just, it was an incredible experience. It was, those boats are unbelievable from the bottom all the way up to the top. But for me, its tribe, its boat, its gunboat 6201. It's the boat that really changed performance multi-hull sailing. It brought race boat technology into a cruising platform, and for me it's a bit like a Porsche 911. It's timeless. Some people find it ugly, some people find it beautiful. I just think it's an incredible boat to sail, to look at, and to be part of that history of that boat and have that opportunity to run it for 8 years, turbo the boat, race it, cruise it with an incredible family. This is what these boats are about, like dual purpose, being able to cruise fast and safe, being able to race your heart out, and being able to switch gears between the two within a 2-week period. For me, the Gunboat 62 is the best boat in the world.
Nice.
There you go. Bring that on, eh?
All right.
Bang, there's the rubber stamp.
And we have a couple for sale.
Well, like I said earlier,
Reluctantly for sale.
They are reluctantly, because right now, I've got to watch what I say, but I have a client who would like to sell, and his wife is definitely, and this is not usually the case, it's usually the wife that wants to sell and not the husband. But yeah, she's making it difficult, but good on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, like I said, opportunistic getting you on the show today. So thanks so much, Tom, for your time, Spike Abram from Rapide Yacht Group. Thanks for coming on, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in Australia, and good luck getting home to Newport.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. This has been awesome, and really appreciate it.
Good on you, Spike.
Thanks again for tuning in to Bulwarks and Bulldust. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, send us your feedback. If you want a performance multi-hull, you know who to call. We'll see you next time on Bulwarks and Bulldust. So before we say goodbye to Spike Abram from Rapide Yacht Group, I wanted to just make note of the fact that we're standing in front of the stunning GeForce 2000 Kato. She's for sale, so get in touch with Spike and I, and we'll get it sorted out. But it's been great having you on the show, Spike. Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you.
And we'll catch you up with you at the next boat show.
Awesome.